Hi, welcome back to our channel, and in this video I'm going to break down this project. So I'm going to walk you through the concept phase, to the design phase, to the animation, and finally the compositing, bringing all things together. The project files is available to our Patreon supporters. So if you want to join our Patreon, the link is in the description. So first, let me share the background of the project. So the animation is part of a collaboration between 60 animators, and it was organized and initiated by Ben Marriott. So you probably already know about him, but in case you don't, I could tell you who he is. So he is an amazing motion designer, and he has this awesome YouTube channel. He already has like a big YouTube channel, and in his channel are tutorials that shares his experience, tips and tricks about After Effects, and I've watched a handful of them, and they are very helpful. All of his tutorials are easy to follow. So if you haven't checked out his channel yet, I recommend you to do so, and I will put his channel in the description as well, just in case you want to check it out. So around 2020, I think, he messaged me on Instagram if I am interested to be part of this project, in which I said yes. So the project is a collaboration between 60 animators. So he invited 60 animators to submit a 1.5-second animation. And there's a color palette that all of us should follow. And there's also a theme, and that theme is all about love. And each animator should also submit like a title of their animation. So, for example, if you want to make an animation that showcase your love of cats, so the title could be Cat Love. So it should be in that format, blank then love, so cat love. If you want to make an animation about pizza because you love pizza, so that could be pizza love. So the title should be in that format. And once all of the animators have submitted their work, then Ben would piece everything together, and that would be like one video. So if you are interested to watch the final output, I will put it somewhere on screen in case you want to watch the final output. So I decided to go with the title Self Love. So this was 2020. That's the start of the pandemic. That's the start of the lockdowns. And I wasn't really feeling good about myself. But I also know that I have to like love myself in order to move forward. And that was the initial idea. That's the initial message that I want to include in my animation. So when thinking about self love, another idea popped out. And that idea is that there's this character, and there's a mirror, and there's a reflection inside that mirror. And this is not an original idea. I have seen a lot of posts already, or maybe animation about something like this. I just don't know what that exact where I have found that post, but I'm very sure that this is not an original idea. But what I usually see is that the reflection is hugging the real person, right? So the real person is very sad, and then you'll see that the one in reflection in the reflection is hugging the real character or the real person. And I don't want to just copy that idea. I want to make it my own. And so I thought, what if we had it in reverse? What if the real person is hugging the reflection? Would that change the meaning? And if so, what would be the new meaning be? So, in the original idea that the reflection is hugging the real person, the meaning is somewhat like comforting yourself, right? But if we have it in reverse, where the real person is hugging the one in the reflection, it's more now a story about acceptance, to accept your own faults, maybe, to accept your own perception of yourself. And that's the kind of story I want to tell. So, okay, I think we are going in the right direction with this. And from there, I keep on reiterating the idea. And then it became I thought to myself that what if the reflection is a monster? Because that's how the character perceived herself. And another additional idea is what if, in the process of accepting yourself, the one in the reflection, which is first a monster, begins to morph back to its human or its normal form, which is the reflection of the character. And then once the idea became I had some sort of like an epiphany that this is the one, this is the idea that I want to go with. So it's easy to fall into the cool animation trap, right? This was a collaboration between 60 animators, and surely Ben had invited other awesome animators, and I just had the urge to prove myself because I know these are amazing animators and I had to keep up. But um, I decided to focus instead on what I had to say. And I focused on what's the best idea to bring that message to life. And from there, you just keep on iterating the idea until you are satisfied with it. In the end, animation is just a tool. The goal is to tell stories, right? So the goal is to use animation to tell that story, to use animation to evoke feelings that you want to evoke in your viewers. So instead of starting with a very cool animation, instead of starting there, I started with the message. I started with what I want to say. And this is something I need to remind myself from time to time. And if this is also something you need to remind yourself from time to time, so I'm reminding you now to uh, don't be like don't be trapped or feel restricted about thinking about an original idea or thinking about something awesome to make, but instead focus on what you want to say. Focus on what you want to tell people, what you want to express. So now I'm going to walk you through the design process. I'm going to show you right now. So this is like my initial design. So this is my initial design. And I decided to use a female as a gender. This is just my own personal preference. I prefer drawing female than male. Then I decided to make the eyes very big because I only have like 1.5 seconds, right? And this is a very like emotional kind of concept. So being able to uh, get the message across in terms of like the expression or feelings of the character is very important to me. And since only have like 1.5 seconds, the expression should be the first thing that you notice. So my solution is just to make the eyes bigger. But the problem with this design is that if you make the eyes like big, it almost feels like the character is a child, but I don't want the character to be a child. I want this to be like an adult. So what I did is I adjusted the proportions. I made the overall proportions a bit longer, and I'm already like happy with this design. And from there, I created the mirror version, but in the concept phase, I told you that the one in the mirror version was a monster, but it doesn't really need to be literally a monster. It could just be like we could play around with the colors of the character, or the skin tone could be different. And in this case, the eyes, She doesn't have like an iris, but the whole eye is black. So that could be like one way to portray that there's something off with this design, right? There's like something scary about this design. So once I am happy with so I'm already happy with both of these. So then I proceed to go with the color testing. So I decided to explore the colors. So this is the color palette that we could use. So Ben didn't really like restricted us to use all of the colors. We can use as few colors as we can. So I decided I have two worlds, the real world and the mirror world. So I decided that this would be like the overall, or I mean, this is the overall color or the overall color of the background. And this one would be the overall color for the background of the mirror world. And for the hair color, I decided to use this. So that would be the hair color for both the real world and the mirror world. And for details, I decided to use this one. So these two colors would be for the real world, and these two colors would be for or I mean, this two colors would be for the mirror world. And so far, it works. And I decided to clean it up. So now it became like this. And I'm very satisfied with, I think this now already like works. So from here, I decided to go into the animation phase. So this is the initial animation. It's nothing like the design, but what I was trying to go for here is just to get the overall timing. If I could get the point across in just 1.5 seconds. So this is the 1 second mark. This is 1.5, and I'm just gonna press enter on my keyboard, and that's the animation, right? And currently it works, right? The hug and this smile, the smile from the mirror character. And then once the timing works already for me, I decided to flesh this out a bit. So and we have two worlds, right? The mirror world and the real world. And there are like two actions here. The first one is the action of the mirror world where she would like monster up. And the second action is the hugging animation, which is much more difficult. So I decided to start with the mirror world first. So it's the orientation or the way it's facing is right here, right? Um, because I just thought that I'm just gonna flip this when I'm going to import this in After Effects. So what I was thinking, because there were like a mirror, the character was the reflection was inside of the mirror. What I decided was to use After Effects because I'm not really comfortable with Adobe Animate with regards to setting up like the whole project or compositing. So I'm just using Adobe Animate as an frame by frame tool, and I used After Effects as like my main program for animation. So this is now the animation. So I'm just going to play this. And this part that the hair goes down, this is now the hint that she is slowly transforming back to her original self. And I didn't like include like a smile, right? Because the point of like acceptance, it doesn't really need to be like a smiling face, right? It could just be like going back to your like original self. So that's why I decided not to have the mirror world like smile like the one in my like concept animation. So now I'm going to discuss a little bit about hair animation and how it's very similar to animating other effects like fire. So I have opened a new file right here, and for the hair, so we have like a starting hair of something like this, And I'm not anymore going to teach you like how to animate, the shortcuts, etc. This is just like an overview, like a breakdown of the project. So we have other videos that I go more in depth in like how to animate, but this one is basically just the thought process of how I was able to conceptualize that project from concept to design to animation. So now I'm just gonna give you an overview with the hair that it's similar to animating fire. So I'm just gonna like add a blank keyframe right here. I'm gonna turn on the onion skin, and the way that we animate hair is the same with the way we animate with fire. That you think about the point. So for example, this is our hair, right? This is the like the um, mirror version. And the way we think about this is that there's a point right here, a point right here, and a point right here, right? And the same with the other side. And the idea is that as the like mirror version like powers up or monstered up, the idea is that these points are going up, right? And new points are being added. So this one would now be here, and this point would be somewhere here, and this one would be like somewhere here. I'm just gonna make this equal on the other side so that it's easier to animate. But it's better if there should be like a symmetry, right? So if it's like it's equal left and right, it feels like a natural, right? But for just the sake of simplicity, I'm just doing it like this, right? So this is now the new frame, right? And as these points go up, this one in the next frame, it would disappear. And then we add like a new point. So maybe the new point is right here. And now I'm going to add a blank keyframe. So now this point disappears. This one would go somewhere here. And this point would be here. This point would be somewhere here. And this one would be here. You could decide if you want to add another point. Maybe add another point here. And you do this. This is you could just animate this into a loop. You could keep on and on, right? So I'm just gonna preview this, and you'll see. So it's gonna look like that. I'm just gonna expose this one so that it's not too fast. So I'm just giving you like the overall concept. So you have now like the force like going up. So you could feel like the hair is like going up, like there's a wind from below, like she's powering up, right? And let's go back now to the file. So I'm just gonna go through this frame by frame, right? And you see what I meant about the points, right? That there's like a point here like going up, and then after the hug, the points now would go down. I'm just gonna preview this again. And once that I am finished with this, I decided to do now the hug animation. So this is now the hug animation. So I normally like start with something that is easy to draw, right? At the beginning, I don't really concern myself if this is correct. What I'm trying to go for at the beginning is the action, that I'm able to convey the action well. So we have like, even this is just a hug. This is like multiple actions into one, right? Because she has to step forward to be able to reach her, right? So I added a step, right? This step is like one action. And from here, you could also see that there's like a weight change. So from the point where she drops her foot forward, the weight is still here. And now to reach this one, we move the weight from here to here. And I'm just going to preview that, and then you see the weight changes, or there's some sort of like a force transfer. And once I'm good with this, and also before I forget, in the This version, right? If I'm just gonna preview this, it's just like that, right? You don't see like the head like moving forward, right? But when I animated the hug, I need to add like the reaction, right? There is a reaction where after the arms are being wrapped around the neck, right? So there's like a reaction going on. And I decided, so in the end, I decided to add a bit of smile to the character. I'm not sure if I kept this in the final, but as I made this, I think it made more sense to have this like smile a bit, like happy and sad, those two emotions like merging together. So the next phase, I'm just gonna click the new file. I decided to clean this up a bit. There are still like some portions that are sketchy. And then let's go to the like next phase. So as you can see, I don't draw like very clean at the start. I don't really concern myself with getting the correct drawing at the start. Even as I do the in betweens, I focus on the animation. I focus on the flow. Once I get the flow locked in, that is the time that I um, clean it up, right? And in frame by frame animation, you go through like multiple passes. So the first pass is like very sketchy, and then you go back again, clean it up, and then you look at it and maybe could spot some mistakes, and maybe there are like some portions that you still didn't clean up because you wanted to get the motion correctly. And then once you're done with the second pass, you go back again at the start and then do another pass, and then you can have as many passes as you go. And now this is for this process. Now it's much cleaner, but there are still a portion where it's a bit sketchy, right? So I just want to clean that up later on. So now this is the cleanup, and I have added like color to this. And the way I colored this one is just it's just simple. I'm just using a brush and a fill. So the brush, so the shortcut is B on my keyboard, and you just make sure you close it, and then fill. The shortcut is K, and then like that. That's just how I colored this, right? So I is the eyedropper tool. So I'm just gonna like pick that color. Like for example, the arms, I just like uh make an arm like this and then press K, and then that's now with color. But of course, I made it like more clean here. So this, and I also have like different like layers, right? For example, the arm, this is in one layer, and I also have the dress in a different layer. And also here, I'm just gonna scrub through the timeline, and you'll see here that I have like multiple images. This is this is the smear, right? If you are like using a camera, like for example this camera that you're watching right now, and I'm like waving my hand, right? If that's like very quick, if you pause that video, you'll see that there's going to be like multiple images because the camera can't capture all of my movement, right? It's also I want to capture that same effect in my animation, so I added some like double image on like a few frames where it's fast, right? When she like hugs, there's that like fast motion. That's the point where you could add like smear to your animation. And then finally, I decided to color the mirror version, and this is now the result. So as you can see here, you'll see that I used the human color for the skin tone. But in the design phase, I decided to make the skin tone green. That's because I decided to, I don't want, and I also don't know how to animate the color in Adobe Animate. So I'm more comfortable with using Adobe Animate as a frame by frame tool. But it's easier for me um, to wrap around the idea of changing colors in After Effects. So what I've decided is just to import these layers in After Effects and apply a fill effect, and then I'm going to animate the fill effect from one color to another color, um, or I think you could use color change effect in Adobe After Effects. So that's the reason why I decided to use this color, and also for her dress, it's the normal color. It's not the mirror version color, because I was just thinking I'm going to use like alpha mats for this, for the change of color. Or I mean, I'm going to animate like an effects, and then I'm going to alpha mat that to the dress. So we have now all of the assets that we need for our overall animation. Well, not everything, but we have like the major ones. We have finished the mirror animation. We have finished the hug animation. So we could now like bring them together, and maybe just add like the backgrounds and other like assets that we need. That maybe the mirror. Maybe I'm just gonna make that in After Effects. So the first thing that you would want is, how do we import like the one that we made in Adobe Animate into Adobe After Effects? So the normal way is just um, to create an SWF file and then import the SWF file in After Effects. And to do that, the shortcut is Command Enter if you're working in a Mac computer. That's Control Enter if you're working in a Windows computer, and that's going to automatically create an SWF file. So in our After Effects project, go to File, go to Import, Import File, and then locate the SWF. So that is this one, 06 SWF, then click Open. And then you have this. So I'm just going to create a new comp. Um, that would do. I'm just gonna click OK, and then I'm just gonna drag this in my comp, and then we have like the animations. I'm just gonna zoom in the timeline, right? And now we have the animation, but this is just one layer, right? So how do we like bring like all of the layers to my After Effects project? So there is a way to include all of the layers here inside of After Effects, but there's a little bit of difference in terms of process, right? We're not going to import the SWF. We are going to import the .fla, the project file for the Adobe Animate file. So, but before you import the .fla or FLA, make sure that here on the properties and on the doc, and if you go to document settings, click this more settings, make sure that you have used the advanced layers, because if this is unchecked, it's not going to work. So make sure that this is checked. So that's checked. I'm going to click OK. And then now let's try. So the file name of this is 06. This is like step 6 in my process. So now, for example, I'm going to click File, Import, then File. Then locate the .fla file. That's going to be this 06.fla, and then I'm going to click Open. So after a while, it's going to prompt this one. This would only tell you like because what it will do is it will create a .swf for all of your layers, and After Effects wants to know where do you want to save these files. So currently, I'm already good with this. Just save it on the animation slash character folder. Okay, I'm gonna click OK. And then now we have this. So I'm just gonna double click this comp. And now we have this. My only problem with this one is that there is no way to make the bounding box in like the same size as the drawing. So for example, this one, and also it's going to include like the guide layers. So right now this is like empty, like every empty layer in Adobe Animate would also be imported. So make sure you clean it up first. So and the files, the layer name here is I did a good job at layering. The one that only is layered is the hair. So yeah, good job, past Mar. So don't do that. Okay. So when you like make an animation, make sure that these are layered so that when you import it in After Effects, um, it's organized and it's easier to locate your layers, right? So right now, the only thing that's easy to locate is the hair, right? So but now you could see it has different layers, which is what we want. So this one is for the head, and this one is for the arms. So for the arms, so I'm just gonna like demonstrate how I'm going to change the color of this, right? So this is the arm, and if I'm gonna zoom in, we have this detail, right? So I can't really use the fill effect. So I'm just gonna type here fill, and let's apply this to that layer because I'm gonna lose that detail, right? Or unless if I have um, created the a different layer for like the details, I mean the fill effect could work. But there's also a different effect that could like work on this, and that is change to color. So I'm just gonna type here change to color, and I'm gonna double click this, apply it to this layer, and now it has applied to that layer. So here you could see how you would want this. There's this like from and to. So I'm just gonna like click this eyedropper tool and then click this color. So from that color, I'm going to change it to, there's a specific hex code for that, but just for a quick demonstration, I'm just gonna maybe make it like this. I think it was like this color. And then click OK. As you can see, it changed color, but the change is only for the U, right? So if I'm gonna expand this, what you want is for all of the aspect of the color, the U, lightness, and desaturation. So I'm gonna click this one, and now that is the change that's being made. So how I'm going to change the color of this is I'm going to change the color of the two right here, right? So I'm just gonna like move forward in time because it's gonna change the color at around maybe at this point in time. So I'm just gonna click this one now. So I'm gonna press U on my keyboard to reveal the keyframes. So now I have this keyframe. Now I'm gonna move to the start, and then since this is already like keyframed, right? And I'm just gonna click this eyedropper tool, and I'm gonna make it to be the same as this one. And now the color has changed. So I'm just gonna zoom out and I'm just gonna preview this. And then here at the end, right, it's gonna change back to the original colors. I'm gonna like create a keyframe here. And then at this point in time, I'm just gonna copy this keyframe because this is the normal or the human color. So it's going to be like that. Or I'm just gonna bring this or it doesn't need to be like full. I don't think I made this to full human color, but just at around here. So you could just extend this like forward even more, right? So that it just like acts or like at the beginning of the animation of the color. And just do the same process for the head and also like the legs. So let me do that. So now I did the same process for the head and the legs, and this is the result. Now, how about the dress, right? It changes the color. And we have that like effects, right? When the change of the color of the dress. So now let's go back to Adobe Animate, and I have made this effect, this red one, right? So I'm just gonna press enter on my keyboard. And let me just preview this because we just need this animation, not the all of the layers. So I could just like import the SWF file. So I'm just gonna click Command Enter. That's Control Enter if you're working on a Windows computer. So now we have this, and now I'm just gonna import the this SWF file. And now we're back in After Effects. So I'm gonna go File, Import, and Import File. and then locate the SWF. This is the SWF, and I'm gonna click open. And now I need to locate the dress, and too bad I did not. This was like a few years ago, and now it's very confusing. During the time that I did this, it wasn't as confusing because I was like in the zone. But that is the disadvantage if you don't layer your, or you don't name your layers, because if you go back to it years after, it's very hard to because somehow you already forgot about this project, right? So I'm just gonna locate this real quick. So this is now the bottom part of the dress. I'm just gonna rename this, right? Bottom dress. So this is the upper dress. I'm just gonna rename this. And now we have this SWF file, right? So I'm just gonna bring this on top of the bottom dress, and let's see the animation, something like that, right? But I want it doesn't take form of the dress, right? So we're gonna use alpha mats, right? So I'm already on my like track mat mode here. If you don't see this, you need to click the toggle switches mode. And now I have seen this. There's this quick pick whip. So I'm just gonna pick whip this to the bottom dress. So now it's like that. It has hidden the bottom part. So let me reveal this, right? And what it does is now it's like that, right? And if I want to change the color, I just need to change the color of the animation. This one, right? This is the animation. And now I could use the fill effect, right? So I'm just gonna type here and type fill and apply this effect to that layer. And then for the fill, now I could also animate the color if I want, but I think the color is this, the same with the hair. So now it's gonna be like that. And then I'm just gonna duplicate this because we need to do that to do the same process for the upper dress. So I'm gonna duplicate this and maybe bring this above the upper dress layer. But currently the mask or the track mat is still linked to the bottom dress. So I'm just gonna link this to the upper dress now. And when you do that, it would automatically hide the upper dress. Just reveal that one. And now we have this. So that's basically the concept of how I changed the color and how I was able to play around with like the masking of like the animation. So this is now the final file. So this is the file that I did years ago. And I decided to change the color of the dress to yellow because currently it feels kind of dull. It's so like gray. So we need like a break on, or to add a bit of variety, to add visual interest to the whole image. So I made the dress yellow so that it's more like eye catching. And this is the animation. And this one here, the mirror version, so it is alpha matte to this mirror. And for the background, I just created that in Adobe Animate, but the mirror itself was done in After Effects using shape layers. So why is it that it's just like preference? It would be better if you used like one software for the background, but for here, I just made this to like what made sense during the time, like what is the quickest way, because anyway, I'm just the only one animating it, right? There's like, I didn't need to pass the animation to someone else, so I have a bit of freedom like what I could do. But there are certainly like best practices, especially if you're working in a team. But this one, I'm just working solo here. This is just like a personal project, right? Even though if this is like a collaboration, but the one that I'm gonna submit is just the video file, right? But the files in here, I'm the only one who's going to animate it. I'm the only one who's gonna work on it, so I could do whatever I want. So this mirror here, that's a shape layer. The background is done in Adobe Animate. And let me show you. So the background is basically just this one, right? Since I decided to draw the mirror in Adobe After Effects, so I decided to make this blank, right? And uh, it's just even just one frame. So I'm just gonna like Command Enter. So we have this SWF, and I'm just gonna import the SWF file in Adobe After Effects. So we have a problem that we need to solve. So I just recently, just now, I created a new comp, renamed it to sample just to illustrate the problem. So the problem is this, right? This is the mirror version. And if it's a comp, right? The way we imported it is using the advanced layer. But for the hug animation, since I don't really need to change the color, I decided to use the SWF method in importing it. So that because I don't really need different layers for this, but we have a problem. This is the problem. So it's not really correct when it hugs, right? So we need to maybe bring this on top so that maybe that would be the correct one, but it's still not the correct one, right? It's correct on some aspects, but the head isn't correct. Actually, we need the head to be um, below the mirror version, but we need the body and this part of the arm to be above, but we need this part of the arm to be below. So, how do we solve that? So this is the arm. As you can see, this is the arm only. And I place that on top. And also for the body, I also have like, I duplicated like the comp and, masked it out. And I have the head below the shadow, below the mirror character. So this part, right? So these are my parts, right? This is the one below. I have this, and I also have this part and also this part, right? So that I would now have like the correct like layering. And also for the mirror world, I like animated this swirl in the mirror itself. So it's this file. This is the swirl. Like I animated a separate file for this, and then I just alpha mat it to the mirror. So now it's this is the result. And also I animated this like this effect, like when she hugs this, it's like the black mirror world is like disappearing and like going back to its original colors. And this is the result. Oh, and also I added like a cast shadow for this character. So what I did is I just duplicated the hug animation. So this one, I duplicated that. So I'm just going to demonstrate this. And then I used a CC slant. And then bring the floor, this one, I'm going to click this and set the floor to around here. And then for the height, I'm just going to bring this to negative. And then the slant. And then because we need this to be in just one solid color. And then I added a fill effect to this. And then change the color to whatever color that you want, or the shadow color. So I'm just going to delete this now. That's how I did this cache shadow. And that's the result of the animation. So that's it. If you reach this point, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for watching the video, watching the full video. And I hope you found this insightful. I hope you were able to get a glimpse into my thought process. Because getting skills or acquiring skills is important. Knowing the techniques and building the techniques and skills in After Effects, in Adobe Animate, and knowing how to animate, these are important. But what's more important is knowing how to use those skills in your animation, or knowing how to use those skills to tell your story. And I hope with this video, it was able to help you um, get a glimpse into like how I think and how I used those techniques in telling a story. And if you're interested to download the project files, it's offered to our Patreon supporters. And if you're interested in joining our Patreon, the link is in the bio. And if you haven't already, please subscribe if you enjoyed content like this. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And that's it for me. See you in the next video.